Hey y'all, it's Deb. Welcome back. Today I'm going to walk you through Budgeting 101. Now this topic is so big and there's so much information out there, I'm going to break this video up into two parts. For a lot of people, the word budget is a dirty word. They don't like it, it makes them feel uncomfortable, or for most people it conjures up this feeling of constriction. That's not what we want to do. I want to change your perspective and help you see how a budget will actually give you more freedom. So what is a budget? The word budget simply means a plan. How am I going to spend the money that is coming in? Y'all know what they say about planning. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Sometimes we look at our financial situation and we just can't figure out how we got here. But if we're honest with ourselves, some of it has to do with never having a plan. This is really common, especially when we're young. I would say between 18 to 28. We're just not really sure what our financial goals are. And then we wake up one day and we're kind of in a mess. So I have a 17 and an 18-year-old sons. They both have jobs and they both have budgets. It's not like they're not financially on their own, but we're trying to teach them how to handle their money way before they get out on their own, so that they understand how budgets work, so that the more money they make, they don't just spend it all and wind up in a mess. They have a plan. How is a budget helpful? It tells you exactly where every single dollar is going to go, saving up for the things that you know is coming, so that when your tire goes flat, this actually just happened to us last night. When your tire goes flat, somebody has to go to the emergency room, you've got things that come up in your home like your pipes burst or your roof needs replacing, you already know how you're going to pay for those things, so that you don't wind up putting everything on credit and now it's really hard to dig your way back out. Having a plan or having a budget can really alleviate a lot of anxiety that people have around money. If you look up marriage conflict, what's one of the top 3, if not the top 1 reason why couples have arguments? It's usually over money. And oftentimes what can happen is that one person grew up one way, one person grew up another. Now both of you have different expectations of what your life is going to look like or how you're going to spend the money, and they have a really hard time coming together and having a plan. Whether you're single or you're married, this can really be helpful to alleviate a lot of conflict and a lot of anxiety. Let's go through some of the different types of very common budgets. As far as I've researched, there are really 2 different kinds. One, you've got the pie chart, and if you look it up on Google, you'll know what I'm talking about. And so some people recommend that you spend this percentage on your housing or living expenses, this percentage on your saving or retirement, and then another smaller percentage on fun or personal things or things that are not as important as your living expenses. That doesn't really work for Adam and I. We have chosen a zero-based budget. Now here's what that means, and this is going to give some of y'all anxiety, but just hear me out. It works for millions of people, okay? So we follow the budget outlined really by the Dave Ramsey team, so a zero-based budget, and what that means is you name every dollar, because what's going to happen to the dollars you don't name? What's going to happen? You don't know. It's gonna go somewhere because you're gonna spend it. We don't want to do that. We want to make sure that the money that we're working really hard for is working for us, not working against us. Here is what a zero-based budget means. It means that by the time I write all of my expenses, fun stuff, saving stuff, IRA, all that kind of stuff, at the end of the line, there should be the number 0. Now, this is why it gives people anxiety. They think that when they go on their phone or they go online and they check their bank statement, it says I only have $3 left in my checking account, or I've only got $1.50, or whatever it is to keep your account open with your bank. They freak out. Well, here's why they freak out. People are freaking out because they think, what's going to happen if I overdraft? If you do a line item for everything that you could possibly think of, everything you spend money on, plus your savings, because your savings is what protects your checking account if you make a mistake, and you'll make mistakes. But that's what that savings account is for, to cover your overdraft. This gives a lot of people anxiety because we've been taught not to feel comfortable with a very low number at the end or on our phone or on your computer when you're checking your bank statement. If you have allotted every single thing you could possibly think of, there's really nothing that should surprise you that would come up that you haven't paid for or allotted for. Let me answer a question that I get all the time. Deb, does budgeting really work? Because I've tried it before and it doesn't work. Here's what I'm thinking has happened, because it happened to me too. When Adam and I started budgeting, it was 15 years ago, and I'm gonna link our debt-free story down below so you can hear all about that. So we started 15 years ago with this zero-based budget. We would have a budget meeting once a month, if not more often. I would cry the first 3 budget meetings. So that means the first 3 months that we were doing this, I cried. Very frustrated. I wasn't mad at Adam or anything like that. There would always be something that would come up, like ordering my contacts that I would forget about, or a dentist appointment that you're not thinking about it because they're so far spread apart, and we had not saved up for it, or we forgot to put the line item in there, oil changes for your car, stuff like that. And I used to say, oh, this does not work. Dave Ramsey is crazy. Okay. We have been debt-free for 14 years. It was only frustrating the first 3 months. That's normal. That is to be expected. I would be surprised if you weren't frustrated the first couple of months, because you're gonna make mistakes. You're gonna forget stuff. It takes growing some muscles in here. It's just like you haven't worked out in a long time. You're working muscles in here that you haven't really worked, and that's okay. That's fine. You're gonna get through it. Yes, it does work. Most people who are financially free that I've ever talked to, every single one of them have a budget. Yes, it does work. Another question that I get is, are budgeting apps, like on your phone or on your computer, are they safe? Because a lot of the good ones are connected to your bank account. Yes, they are. So let me tell you about 2 that I'm familiar with. And you can get free ones, like you can get free cash envelope type apps where you've got categories and you track it yourself. Like I spent $30 at Walmart and you go into the app and you track it. We don't like that personally because there are 5 people in my home and it was getting too difficult to track who went where, who's spending what, where is it coming from, what category. Oh, we don't have a category, now we got to add it, all that. We didn't like that. And it felt too easy to sort of forget about a purchase and then not put it in there. So there are free ones. However, they did not work for us personally. So we use the Dave Ramsey one, Every Dollar, and it connects to our checking account, and I love it. I love it. By the way, we did the cash envelope system for years. I think 12 years, 10, 12 years. And then we moved here to South Florida. We moved here to South Florida. There's not a local bank where we live. We would have to drive an hour every single time we want to get cash out. That was not working, which is why we kind of slid back in some of our financial goals. So we decided to try this app. It is worth every penny. It is one of those things that we budget for every year. It's connected to our checking account. So if Adam needs to buy lunch at work, he does not have to come home and manually whatever, or hey Deb, where are the envelopes? It automatically takes it out of the category that we've put it in. And Adam does Adam tracks, we both have Every Dollar on our phone so that we can communicate together, which is very, very important. If you are married, both of you need to have access to that. That's a whole other video about joint accounts and all that kind of thing, but both of you need to have access to that so your communication can be open and there are no arguments. Adam has created a spreadsheet. So if I look at him and I say, oh, like last night, oh, we have a flat tire, we need to pull some of our gas money that we're not using and just go get the tire fixed. And he was like, got it. So he'll go into his spreadsheet, move those numbers around. It connects with Every Dollar. It's awesome. I can't say enough good things about it. Some of our really good friends don't use that one. They use the one called You Need a Budget. It's the same concept. I just can't talk a lot about it because it's not the one that I use, but I've heard it is fantastic. So maybe research some of those. But the big financial apps tracking spending that connect to your bank accounts, I'm not really worried about them. Yes, they are safe. I feel completely comfortable using them. So that leads me into the next question I get really, really often, especially if you live in an area where you do a lot of your banking online, which is really, really common, and you don't see yourself going to the bank every week. So with this zero-based budget, there are two ways to do it. You can do it with cash envelopes. If you want to know what that is, there are videos all over YouTube. We did that forever, and it was awesome, but it's not feasible for a lot of us. Hang on, let me look at my notes. Oh yeah, so I get often asked, Deb, do you have to do this with cash? No, you don't, but let me give a caveat. If you're not willing to be honest about your spending and honest about your budget and stick to your zero-based budget, this is not going to work for you. So a lot of people like us, we switched over to cash 15 years ago because we needed the accountability. We needed the physical, the money is gone. We cannot go anywhere. We cannot eat out anymore. There's no more food money. We have to stop. And it worked really, really well until we could exercise our own self-control. And now it's fine because we know the consequences of not doing it. So, Deb, do you have to do this budgeting with cash? No, you don't, as long as you have really good self-control. And that is why I like the Every Dollar app. It doesn't let you fudge it. It's tracking every penny that comes out of your checking account. You have to write that down somewhere. You have to keep track of it because every dollar is going to tell you when the money is gone, and it's being tracked through your checking account. So no, you don't have to use cash. Let me say this. If you have access to a local bank really close to you and it's convenient, I highly recommend the cash system. If you don't, or if you have some maturity and you've got some exercise in this area and you feel really confident, go for that. Okay, so we've been through all of this about the big topic of budgeting, and now you say, okay, Deb, this all sounds great. I'm motivated, I'm on board, I'm ready. Me and my family are ready to do this, or I'm single and I've got an accountability partner. I'm all set up. Where do I begin? That's gonna come in video number 2.